In our lesson today, we're going to work on linear functions and slope-intercept form. Our objectives right here in green to graph linear equations and to write equations of lines. In order to kick that off, what we have to do is really learn about slope. So we have a number of pieces over here. Slope is vertical change over horizontal change, which is rise over run. Equation for slope, which a lot of times we use the letter m to represent slope, would be m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, as you look at the subscript here, the 2's and the 1's, all that means is the y value of the second point, right? The y value of the first point, the x value of the second point, the x value of the first point. So then we look at different types of slope up here. So we have a positive slope. Positive slope goes from lower left to upper right. If we want to look at negative slope, we go from upper left to lower right. What I think about if I ever get confused, I read right to left, or I'm sorry, left to right, usually left to right anyway. And so as I take the ruler from left to right, you can see that that line goes up the ruler. It's increasing, it's getting bigger, it's positive. As I look at the negative one, it's coming down the ruler. It's getting down farther and farther and farther. It's dropping, it's decreasing, it's negative. Then we have two others to look at. Our other two would be zero slope, so that would be a horizontal line. And that would be because we're not changing our vertical at all. So the numerator would be 0, making the slope 0. And then we have an undefined slope over here, which is a vertical line. If you think about vertical line, now our change is not happening in a horizontal direction, right? It's not changing going left and right this way. So what happens then is the horizontal change would be 0, and as you know, anything divided by 0 is undefined. So that's why we have undefined slope over there. In our first three examples down here, we're going to find the slope of the line that passes through the given points. So we're going to start off here with we've got the point -3, 7, and we've got the point -2, 4. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by identifying x1 and y1. And then over here I'm going to identify x2 and y2. And if you ever get confused as to which is which is the x, which is the y, just remember alphabetical order, right? X before y. So the first coordinate is your x coordinate, the second coordinate is your y coordinate. So if I go back to my slope equation over here, I've got y2 minus y1 in the numerator. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to call it m. y2 is 4, minus y1, which is 7. And then my denominator would be x2 minus x1, so I have -2 minus -3. All right, in my numerator, 4 minus 7 is -3. And then down here, I've got two negatives back to back. So those two negatives make a positive. So really, this ends up being -2 plus 3, or through commutative property of addition, I can flip those and say 3 minus 2 would be 1. So my slope for the first one is -3. B and C are both our special cases. It's either 0 slope or undefined slope. So we'll make sure we look at those. And remember, if we're looking at 0 slope, the numerator ends up being 0. If we're looking at undefined slope, the denominator ends up being 0. So same deal, I'm going to set up my x1, y1, my x2, y2. And now I've got my slope m equals y2 minus y1, so 1 minus 1. And then my denominator will be x2 minus x1, so -4 minus 3. So 1 minus 1 is 0. And then -4 minus 3 is -7. 0 divided by any number is 0. So the answer to B, the slope, will be 0. Letter C Obviously now you know it's coming. This is going to be undefined slope. So the key is that you learn how to look at it and what you're looking for. So again, identify x1, y1. Identify x2, y2. Okay, now I'm going to go get my formula or my equation, which is going to be y2 minus y1 in the numerator. So I've got 1 minus negative 3. Okay, my denominator will be x2 minus x1. So that ends up being 7 minus 7. So in the numerator, minus and negative 3 becomes plus 3. So I've got 1 plus 3 is 4. And in my denominator, I've got 7 minus 7, which is 0. So anytime I divide by 0, the answer would be undefined. So as you look at these, remember, denominator is 0, undefined. Numerator is 0, slope is 0. That will help you out.